We can do whatever your heart desires. Oh, and we're live! Welcome to the first ever live edition of Fantasy Football for Dummies by Dummies. I am Austin Dalalanga, and with me is, as always, is my favorite co-host on the Fantasy Football show, LaChapelle, Brandon LaChapelle. We're off to a blazing start. Thank you for tuning in, Eclipse Consulting Limited. We are getting started on some fantasy football news, and we'll kick it off with a recap of last week. We had a couple flyers of the week that we had discussed, and we'll recap on how we did with those. Let's start off with recapping our games. How did week 9 treat you, Lash?
Pretty good. I ended up with the W, of course.
Oh, of course. Just sitting pretty at the top of his league.
It was a weird week, though, for running backs. I think Jerick McKinnon ended up as, like, the RB6, and he only scored 15 points. So, if you survived that, you did pretty well for yourself, I guess. Other than that, Jerry Judy, went off, as predicted.
Hey, Ian.
So,
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, all good.
Speaking of Judge Judy, Tomac's in the chat, and he was just living the dream there with his boys losing, but still putting up some production.
True. Teague says 27. That's my nickname for McKinnon on the Sleeper app, because I paid 27 fab dollars uncontested before the season even started to pick him up. So, yeah, he's paying dividends. Won me 2 weeks so far, so I'm happy with it.
Really glad I traded him away. I got the elusive W in my own league. I won by 0.1 points. Late Patriots interception, I think, is what sealed the deal. Oh no, it was a sack. Patriots defense sack of Joe Flacco in the last drive actually sealed the win for me. So even then, it was a roller coaster of a week, and my playoff hopes are still alive. So thank you.
3-6.
At 3-6, still second from the bottom of the league, but we're coming back. I had a pretty big trade, which I'll get to shortly. Hey Chance, how's it going? Thank you for tuning in. We're happy to have you. Owen's in here too from B2B. Nice. Welcome. So, speaking of welcoming our, I don't know where I was going with that.
Where are we going with this?
And we lost half of our viewers right when I screwed that up. So, Flyers of the week from week 9. We had, I've written down here, Tim Patrick, Marvin Hall, Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney. You have a couple others. Recapping, Tim Patrick had 8.9 points in standard, so that was pretty good. I had him starting when we recorded our show last week, and after talking with Lash, I just realized, put in Marvin Hall, who was also another flyer, and he ended up scoring 2.8 points, so that was a bad call on my part.
Yeah, I blew that one for you.
Yeah, so thanks, Lash. Jacoby Myers had a pretty awesome day, 16.9 points in standard league, and Darnell Mooney had 4.3. It was
not a great showing,
not great.
But in PPR he ended up with 9, which is fine, I guess, for your flex. But that's just kind of a question of the process versus results, I guess, because like he saw 11 targets, he only reeled in 5 of them though. So yeah, that's fantasy football for you. The
11
process
targets
was good, so that's all you can ask.
Yeah, he's going to be an excellent replacement for Allen Robinson when Robinson leaves next year, and comes to the Patriots. You heard it here first. Ian Gustafson with a question. Should I start Antonio Brown today in my flex? I was not high on Antonio Brown last week. I think it was last week. And I continue to not be high on him this week because I really like the Panthers defense, and I just didn't see enough for there to be any confidence moving in this week. I think he only had 3 points last week.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole offense was terrible, but if Coach Arians is talking about Brady making Evans and Godwin irrelevant, you probably want to include them more in the pass game than Antonio Brown. So I think that's the direction that this offense will try to go this week. So that's a hard no for me on Antonio Brown.
And I would probably lean the other way. It all depends on... Okay, let me talk. Chill. It all depends on who else you have. Obviously, if you have a better option, a more clear-cut option, go with that. But Antonio Brown is definitely worth a shot. He had almost 80% snaps played. When we hypothesized maybe 40 to 50, so they trust him right off the gate. If Tom and the boys didn't go 3 and out for like 6 drives in a row or something.
Yeah, that was pretty sad.
I think he would have definitely had a better game. He saw 5 targets. He looked good running his routes. He got some good separation. Any other game than this absolute shellacking of the Buccaneers, I think he would have done quite a bit better. So, I think he's worth a start for sure. Well, not for sure, but in the flex, he's an okay play.
Yeah. All right, so Owen, should I start Burrow or Cam? Both are playing great defensive teams. So as a Patriots fan, Owen, I'm just gonna say it. I don't trust Cam tonight. The weather's not supposed to be good either, so he might be running the ball a lot, which is nice, but I trust Burrow more than anything. The Steelers have shown that they can get passed on this defense. Their front seven's really good, but the ball's going to be in Burrow's hands for probably 50 times this game. So I would trust Burrow on the start there.
I'd agree with that.
Tomac, PPR flex, Fuller or Samuel, worth noting, had Taylor underperform already. Yeah, same, Tomac. Thanks for trading him to me. I'm just kidding. Lash, do you have any thoughts? I know Samuel's been pretty sexy.
You can definitely chase the points in Samuel, but with Taylor already underperforming, I think it's probably a Fuller play. You kind of want that boom or bust option, depending on the outlook for the rest of your game too. So I would roll with Fuller in that spot. Carolina just has too many places to spread the ball around too. I feel like that can get a bit inconsistent. So as good as Samuel's been, Fuller's the clear-cut number 1 for his team, so I'd roll with him.
Yeah. I for what it's worth, Tomac, on DFS, I have Fuller this week over Samuel, and among others. I really like that matchup this week. What if my only other option is AJ Green?
I'd roll Antonio Brown for sure.
Speaking of boom or busts, it sounds like you got a bust situation from my perspective. Cup, Godwin, or Claypool? Ooh, that's an embarrassment of riches. Okay, so
it's Cup easily.
Justice Smith. Yeah, I think I trust Cup, but the Bengals only have 3 cornerbacks available this week, and they're all not starters, I think, if I remember correctly.
Seattle's having a historically bad defense for the year. They're on pace to average or give up 1,000 more yards than any other team in history.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll go with Cup there. Goff's probably gonna get 500 yards of offense today. As a Seahawks fan, I say Cup, lol. Yeah, perfect base.
True.
So, moving on to some trades, or a trade that happened this past week. I shook up my team a little bit, a little strategically. I sent over to the guy that I'm competing with this week 2 guys who are on bye. So I gave him Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Amari Cooper for Keenan Allen. So, Lash, what are your thoughts on that? Keenan Allen does play this week, so I get the benefit of that. And now he is down 1 Keenan Allen, and I am up 1 Keenan Allen for the matchup this week. I'm pulling out all the stops. I need wins.
Strategically, this was a good move. When you first texted me about it, you said you had no idea what you just did. So I'm glad we figured out that it was a strategy-based play, and I like it a lot more now that I have that perspective. Either way, I think it was a wash at worst for you. CEH is going to be inconsistent considering they just throw the ball 50 yards every single play or every single drive, so there's limited running room. They don't want to take the ball out of Mahomes' hands, rightfully so. We talked about that before. And Amari Cooper has been not good with the XFL quarterbacks, 7th round quarterbacks. Andy Dalton.
Yeah, I was hoping with Amari Cooper, I stashed him because I was hoping that once Dalton comes back healthy, then I would be able to utilize him and he'd be their number 1. But even then, that's a gamble. And with me needing wins right now, I was like, they'll just ship everybody off. We'll just slowly but surely add value there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear the expert has agreed.
As a final point too, Keenan Allen has a really good schedule, and Herbert throws the ball very well and quite a lot.
Oh man,
so,
does he ever?
Yeah.
He's like 6'7". Sorry, like I know I cut you off again,
tall.
but he is a monster. I just watched that the other day. Boys, my other options are Anthony Miller, AJ Green, or Latavius Murray instead of AB. I could have had Hines, but he's on my bench. Pain. Oh, yeah. I wish I had the foresight to grab Hines, having Jonathan Taylor put up an abysmal 3 points or whatever. Anthony Miller. I mean, that Vikings defense is something, but no.
They never trusted him to begin with, and
just go with AB.
To Mooney as their number 2, so
true.
Anthony Miller's barely worth a roster spot, to be
honest. Justice also has Robert Woods. I would still start Cup, man. Those guys are probably both going to get over 100 yards this week.
I might just start both of them, depending on what other options you have, honestly. But
well, he had, if we go back, he had Godwin and Claypool. If you don't feel comfortable about starting 2 guys on the same team, I think this week, first of all, is the exception, not the rule.
For sure.
For these 2 guys. And props to you for drafting really well and trading well, because I don't know how the hell you got all these guys. This is impressive. Claypool would be my option. Godwin is good, but I don't like how many mouths there are to feed in that offense.
Yeah.
Claypool, you can make the same argument, but just with the Bengals' defense being pretty banged up, I trust Claypool this week.
Right. I'm still going with Cup, I think, out of him and Robert Woods.
Yeah, that would be my first choice.
Just the targets, and even though he hasn't been getting more touchdowns this year than Robert Woods, historically, Goff likes to look to him in the red zone, so I would go with Cup.
This
also because I have him on my team.
This one's a tough one from Dylan Jackal. DJ Moore or Brandon Ayuk? He needs a safe floor. I'm sorry, Dylan. It doesn't sound like you're going to get a safe floor with these 2 options, but if I had to choose, I just traded for Ayuk last week, I think. And I mean, his points over the last few weeks have been pretty good. Kendrick Bourne being back doesn't really spark a lot of anxiety, I guess, from starting Ayuk from that perspective. So I would go with Ayuk this week. He's up against the Saints. The defense is, it's not a great matchup, but somebody's going to, that offense is going to open up receivers. So Kittle being out, I think that they really, really like Ayuk and what he can do in this offense. So I would roll with him. DJ Moore is another, again, you got Curtis Samuel, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson against Mike Davis in an already really, really tough matchup against the Bucks. So, all right, perfect. He said it. Ayuk is where I'm leaning.
That's where I would go to. They scheme him the ball a lot. Last week they wanted to run 85% passing plays for him until he was out with COVID precautions. So I would go with Ayuk as well. But you're not getting a safe floor.
Yeah, that one's
They could get absolutely blown out, and Mullins could throw the ball abysmally, but definitely closer to a safe floor and a much higher ceiling.
If I didn't just trade for Keenan Allen, I would have been having this problem as well, and I would have gone with Ayuk. He's put up over 10 points, I think, most of the weeks, the last 5 weeks. So, Deshaun Watson or Big Ben? Ooh, oh, that's a really good one. I like I'm a Deshaun Watson homer, and against the Browns, it's tough. It could go either way. I think their secondary is really vulnerable. I think Big Ben's a safer play on this one, but by no means do I think Deshaun Watson is not a play. I keep taking the reins because I keep reading the questions.
No, that's all good. You know the matchups better than I do, so. I think Deshaun Watson offers a more safe floor in his rushing capabilities too, so he's going to get you at least a couple points there. Big Ben was pretty banged up after last game, so I don't know, maybe they take it to the Bengals and then rest them in the 4th or something. I don't know if that's a common thing in football, but I've seen it a few times. So.
They will with 5 minutes left.
Yeah, okay, so an insignificant amount of time.
Yeah.
I'd still go with Deshaun Watson though, probably. Cleveland's secondary can get torched, and not to say Cincinnati's can't, but Deshaun Watson, higher profile player. at this juncture of their careers, and the rushing upside is always there. So I'd go with Watson.
Sweet deal. Okay, cool. So another one for you boys. Flex spot, Chase Edmonds or Juju?
Ooh.
Oh, Kenyon Drake is predicted to be back now. So I think that, this is tough because I just argued for Chase Claypool. So I don't want to lead anybody astray here. But if I had to, I was thinking Deshaun Watson because Big Ben hasn't put up the numbers this year, and Deshaun's numbers have been higher in previous weeks. Yeah, and plus the matchup, I think that you've got something going there. I think Will Fuller could score multiple big touchdowns this week. It's not a hot take. That's what he does, but against the Browns defense, I think he could
give
put
up a lot of big plays.
Exactly. I think I would lean towards Juju in that sense, Dylan, just because with Kenyon Drake back, I know that when Drake is good to go, Tomac, yeah. With him coming back, yeah, it was on the BR app earlier. With Drake, when he was healthy, he wasn't putting up ungodly numbers, but having a split in that sense, I'm not too fond of that. Plus, if the Bills have a strength, I think that it's probably against the run.
They're playing the Bills.
Yeah, are they?
No, the Bills get lit up by the run.
Well, I was just thinking this week because they're out 3 starting players in the secondary, so like they may be, like they're probably gonna be passing the ball a lot. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
Right.
But I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. I would just lean on Juju. I think that's probably the safer play.
Yeah, if you need a floor, I would go with Juju, but Drake is like a game time decision, so monitor it up till game time. Edmonds is worth a play if he sits, though, is how I think I would break that down.
All right, I'm just trying to look up here. Never mind. All right. Don't mind me, I'm just being very inconsiderate of you guys and the entertainment value of this. So let's move on to the hype train, Lash. I did not purchase my ticket to this train before last week, but Jake Luton is he's getting some, I don't know what you would call it. I've heard lutonomy. I don't know if people want to roll with that one. This is the same team that had Minshew Magic last year, Minshew Mania last year. So is the lutonomy a real thing, and is it going to be against the Green Bay Packers? Last week, he put up 21.46 points in standard, probably in PPR both as well. He's not catching too many balls, so 21 points, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and he had a running touchy as well. So running touchdown.
Oh my god.
So the hype is starting to build on lutonomy here, and I think that I'm a victim of falling to the hype a lot of times. I'm going to the train station, but I'm not buying my boarding pass for lutonomy. Lash, what say you?
Yeah, no, this is similar to the Jordan Howard train ticket of last week. We're both just avoiding the train station, maybe in the vicinity, but I'm not getting on that train. No matter, he'll be throwing the ball a lot against Green Bay, presumably, but that's a lot of interception opportunities as well, so I wouldn't trust them. Not for fantasy anyway. You're in dire straits if you're starting Jake Luton, I think.
Yeah, please don't start him, and there's got to be other options. I know Jared Goff was on waivers in my league earlier on in the week. Tomac, if you're still with us, you got him. Congrats. And he was in waivers in Lash's league as well.
Yeah.
Who also got him, so congrats. It's going to be a big week. Big week for Jared Goff. Okay, so Flyers of the week for this week. We've got a smorgasbord of Flyers.
We're covering multiple positions this week. It's not just a bunch of running backs or whatever we had last week.
Yeah. All receivers on my sheet.
Oh, yeah,
so
all receivers, yeah.
That was we'll cover all the bases here. We've got tight end. I've taken a flyer on this guy, so I am personally invested in this guy for this week. Dallas Goedert against the New York Giants. I have no idea how it's going to go with Miles Sanders being back, Jalen Rieger's back, Dallas Goedert's making an appearance.
Jeffrey is supposed to be back, but limited.
I'm just hoping that out of all of those weapons, Dallas Goedert just somehow gets open in the middle. Zach Ertz is a pretty good tight end, and when
not this year he's not.
Not this year, but when he's healthy, he gets a lot of points. So I'm hoping Dallas Goedert can kind of swoop in there and kind of take over that role with Ertz still out, I believe.
Yeah.
No update on the NFL fantasy app.
But even when they had them both, Goddard was seeing a lot of targets. Wentz historically targets the tight end a lot. Last week, coming off injury, he only saw one target despite running like a route on 85% of plays or something. So, like, I don't know if it's so much a flyer, but I guess it is based on injury and poor production coming off of it. But
yeah. He was healthy a couple weeks ago, and he only got like one target. So it's like frick.
If he's out there on the waivers because someone panicked when he was or needed the space, I guess if you don't have IR spots, definitely go pick him up.
This just in from Mason Flagel. What do I do with Justin Jackson hitting IR? I'm spotty at running back because of injury and bad play. I've got a thought, but Lash, what are your thoughts?
I guess this is pretty fitting because a couple of my flyers of the week for running back are. Is it Troymaine Pope for the Chargers, as well as Kalen Ballage. Kind of depending which format you play in. If you're in PPR, Pope is going to be a decent play. He got like 7 targets, 5 catches, not last week, but the week prior. And then Kalen Ballage just came off the Jets' garbage minefield and showed that he's maybe an okay player. That's the freedom of Adam Gase for you. You got, 16 carries last week?
17 touches and I think he had a receiving touchdown. Ballage did.
They just signed him to the active roster.
Yeah, but he played last week in relief of
Justin
Jackson. So he had 14 points last week. I would trust Ballage this week if we're going that route. If you Justin Jackson, I think he was the unquestioned number one in that backfield, even though there was hype around Josh Kelly. But Ballage having a big week last week, I think they're just going to ride the hot hand. Anthony Lynn is a former running back, and so he just knows his guys, and a guy that helped you guys lose. He helped you guys still do well offensively. I think I'd trust Kalen Ballage this. If he's on the waivers, Mason, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
but
they're looking for some sort of some semblance of consistency, so I think they're going to probably give him a chance to build on his successful debut. So
Steve can't afford an L to Tomac, so Dobbins, McKinnon, or Gallman. Ooh.
This is standard. So McKinnon's off the table. Playing against the Saints for me, or the Saints. Yeah, the Saints. Yeah. Gallman. Who do the Giants play? Or
the Eagles. That's gonna be tough.
That's tough. I'd go with Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins is playing a freaking Pats defense that don't trust what the fantasy football app tells you. I think they give up 18th most or 13th most points to running backs. They give up a shiza ton of yards. I was afraid to swear there, but I swear it in German, so hopefully there's not many Germans here. But J.K. Dobbins, I've got Gus Edwards. I think it's just, even if they go running back by committee against the Patriots, it's going to be just...
It's going to be a blowout,
it's
and
not
they're going to just
pleasant.
run.
Yeah, so lots of running. Go with J.K. Dobbins, Steve, and give Tomac the L. He's sitting atop our league, so it'd be nice to take him down a notch. Sorry, Tomac, if you're still in. Please don't leave. So moving on to other flyers of the week, you covered Kalen Ballage and Troymaine Pope. I've got, as I mentioned, Gus Edwards. I won't go into that any more than I just did. It's pretty straightforward. Just if you need running back and you're desperate, go against the Patriots. Zach Moss hadn't really looked the greatest other than against the Jets, and then he had that matchup against the Patriots. It was, as expected, he had a pretty good game. I'd consider a breakout game. So I think he had 2 touchdowns against us. So just go with anybody against the Patriots. So I got Melvin Gordon and DJ Dallas. I played Ballage over Dallas or Gordon. I think I would. Oh, DJ Dallas is a receiving back too. Depends, I think, on your league.
Yeah, I'm not super convinced. I think, who do the Broncos play?
The Broncos are playing the Raiders.
The Raiders.
Steve giving us a kiss.
This is kind of a wash. I don't like Melvin Gordon very much personally. I think he's overhyped compared to his fantasy production. Like, still a decent RB2, I guess. So you probably start Gordon, and I don't even know who would have a better, more like defined role out of DJ Dallas or Balaj. Maybe, like Austin said, go with Balaj in standard and DJ Dallas in PPR. Don't play Gordon, Tomac says.
Yeah, Dallas is going up against a stout Rams D line, as Steve mentioned. But yeah, like Lash said, PPR, DJ Dallas will be the guy. And Gordon has been bad this year. Yes, he has. It's the Lindsay show. I think this week it is. And I think that it's going to be a tough matchup either way, because Balaj is going up against the Dolphins defense that has consistently gotten better and better each week. And now they're kind of going up against the Chargers, who I think would be easily susceptible to having a hiccup game against the Dolphins. So just bear that in mind. I don't think either of your options are ideal, Mason.
Yeah, none of these options are good.
Because I think Balaj is going to be the number one guy this week, I would ride Balaj over Gordon. That's just my gut instinct is telling me that Lindsay's going to have more of a role today against the Raiders than somebody else. Okay, I apologize, you guys. I am about to lose you guys. 1 sec. And we're back. Thank you for bearing with us. Almost lost you. Chris Carson injury has hurt me the last couple of weeks. Yeah, and I mean, Dallas, I think he's going to get points regardless. So I would say him and Balaj would probably be my 2 out of that. But, I mean, Gordon's the number one guy, so it's so tough. But those
Gordon
would be
has
the
the
two
best
guys
matchup out of all of them, so it really just depends what you're looking at. Like, matchup wise, I would go with Gordon, but like carry wise, touch wise, I think they're all gonna be right in the same ballpark. So it's murky, Mason. I don't know what to tell you, man. There's no definitive answer here, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a toughie. So just hope for the best. Go with your lineup and just cross your fingers and pray to your God, creator, or spirit. So moving on to quarterbacks, we've got a couple here, Lash. A couple flyers. So just so you guys have the FML.
True.
So you guys are going to have some options here. Lash, care to go into a couple of these quarterbacks?
So we mentioned it earlier. If Goff is out there, he's definitely like maybe even the start of the week playing against the Seahawks defense. And then Baker and Foles, I don't love it based on who they are as players, but they have good matchups. And if you're just like in desperate need to pick up a guy off the waiver wire, go with Baker or Foles just simply for the matchups, because that's what the QB waiver wire looks like in my league anyway.
Yeah, I know Baker's on ours as well, and I mean, couldn't hurt. Texans are not a great team this year, so you hate to see it. But Foles, I just spoke badly about Foles on the Third and Wrong podcast.
Him, but he had a good game last week, and he has a good matchup this week. So hope for the best.
And their offensive coordinator, Bill Lazor, is supposed to be calling plays. I think his name's Bill. We're going to assume it's Bill Lazor. I know his last name's Lazor, so Coach Lazor is calling plays now. Matt Nagy's given those up. So I saw a Bears fan on Twitter say Bears by 1 million on Sunday or Monday night. So take that for what you will. I have 2 wins, but my team always puts up high numbers. Should I blow the team up? Owen, I can relate, man. I'm at 3 wins. I've got one of the top scoring teams in my league as well. And I've even got Kyler Murray. So I've been dangling him as like a trade piece. Just dangling Kyler Murray. I mean, he's so small, you could just pick him up and just like...
Oh my God.
Anyways. Okay, so And that's how we get canceled. I would consider blowing it up if you've got somebody like that you can blow it up with. Is it a dynasty league? Because if that's the case, then that would make a lot of sense. If it's just like a redraft league like I am, I tried blowing up on the fly with my 2 wins, and then I got
blowing it up week to week.
I'm blowing it up week to week pretty much. So yeah, Kyler Murray's been on the block for about 3 weeks now, just trying to get something, and I've been like slowly and surely retooling. If it's a redraft league, I mean, it's pretty late to be trying that, but like you've got nothing else to lose, so I would definitely blow it up if you're at 2 wins and playoffs there's still a possibility. But yeah, if it's PPR, I think either way, what do you use?
Yeah,
just blow it up.
If your team puts up high numbers, you're doing something right, so like keep sticking with that process. But what I would recommend is look at your team's schedules going forward, and maybe try to ship out guys with like bad schedules for guys who have good schedules, even if it's like a perceived downgrade in talent. Like obviously don't go shipping out guys for much lesser players, but if it means trading a like superstar for a guy who's got a super good schedule, I would consider it. Like make it a package deal if it's a superstar, obviously.
Yeah.
But like look at your matchups and try to find a way to continue putting up high numbers. Not the Austin experience where you blow it up and put up 30 the next week.
That was terrible. I'm still really upset about that. So he's got
And don't give up Kamara. You're not getting good enough value back for him, I don't think. Unless you're like needy at another position.
Yeah.
Kamara's too good.
Yeah, unless you got like he's like tier 1. If you got like a tier 2 running back and a tier 2 receiver and you had that need, I would consider it. But
maybe.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, I don't even know if you can swing it. You'd have to see who's gullible in your league, basically. No,
Target the inexperienced.
Yeah. If you're putting up high numbers and just other people just have monster weeks against you, it's really tough to say that it's your team that you need to blow up. So with it being a redraft, I would just look at that side of it and say, how much of it is just really bad luck? Teams are just like, you've got a Patrick Mahomes putting up 36 one week, and your team only put up 30. Like, okay, sorry, that was my experience. But how many times is it guys just having really massive weeks that is unprecedented against you, and it just keeps happening to you week to week? Like, if your team's still putting up like over 100 a week, I don't think that it's grounds for blowing it up. That's a really good number that you want to be striving for. So keep doing what you're doing, and the luck will even out eventually. Hopefully it's this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully
it's this year.
Yeah. If it's not this year, maybe that's next year. But trust me, Owen. This was me last year too. My team was again like a top 3 scoring team, and I had guys just have career weeks against me every single week, and I finished outside of the playoffs. So can feel your pain, and that's this year I'm in your shoes again. So.
As one final point, if there is like one position that's constantly dragging you down, like your QB's struggling, look to upgrade like that one position as opposed to just like blowing up your whole team kind of deal. Exactly.
Beautiful. So we've got 2 more flyers of the week for whoever's with us still. J.D. McKissick, he's been a flyer. He's been flying under our radar for flyer of the week, honestly, from week to week, because he's been getting a lot of targets over the last probably like a month and a half, ever since the year started, really. So J.D. McKissick, Lash, you've got this one down. I'll let you take the...
Yeah, well, I dropped J.D. McKissick prior to last week, and then he came out and got 14 targets or whatever. Just a monster game in PPR. Not happy. We're out of viewers. Not happy. But yeah, J.D. McKissick, I thought he was going to be trending downwards since they have plus matchups. I figured they'd be running the ball with Antonio Gibson a lot, so I made the bet and dropped him right before he just fucking blew up. But yeah, now that Alex Smith is their starting QB, he loves to check it down, thus the 14 targets. If J.D. McKissick is out there, I don't know why he would be at this point, but if he's out there, go pick him up. And if you can swindle someone and trade for him or use him in a package deal to really trade up on a player, do that as well.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
14 targets is pretty juicy in a PPR league, so.
If your wide receiver is getting that, you're ecstatic, let alone your running back. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no doubt. That's like a DJ Dallas type. There we go.
Oof, I don't know about that. He got like six points without the touchdowns.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, maybe not a DJ Dallas type. All right, and Josh Reynolds. I mean, we talked about the Cooper Kupp experience. We talked about Robert Woods. Justice Smith just happened to have both of those guys. Now we're talking about Josh Reynolds, the wide receiver 3 on the Rams. Again, Lash, I think I speak for both of us when I say it's just the matchup. You just got to go with it. He's done well, kind of.
He's been seeing work the last few weeks for sure.
Yeah, so he's one of those guys that last year actually he was like a constant flex play for me, but I mean maybe that's just because my team was bad, but he was pretty good.
No, he was pretty good.
And this week, I mean, let's speak about the Seattle defense for a sec. There's a Twitter account out there called the Computer Cowboy that posted first half highlights of the Seahawks game versus the Bills, and there was about 10 clips and almost all of them were just wide open receivers. So 10 different plays throughout the first half. There was wide open receivers, coverage, busts. I think that with an offense like the Rams, we're going to see so much scheming of, like Steve talks about how this is a fault to Goff, how Sean McVay actually schemes open receivers and it's just dink and dunk for or pitch and catch for Jared Goff. Well, who better to do it against than the Seahawks? Like this is just
pitch it anywhere on the field and someone's going to be able to catch it.
If Jared Goff needs a guy to scheme open receivers and he's got that guy, but he also doesn't even need the scheming open of the receivers, start Josh Reynolds. I mean,
he's seen 8 targets and 9 targets in the last 2 weeks that he played. The Miami game was probably a bit of an anomaly considering they threw 61 passes in that game and Kupp saw 21 targets as well. Wow. So don't expect that maybe, but he's been playing 80%-ish of snaps, so he's out there. And if what he says is true and people can just run wherever they want and get open, Josh Reynolds is definitely worth a flyer this week.
Yeah, well, I trust the Computer Cowboy on Twitter, so he's verified, I think, so. Or she. Well, Cowboy is, anyways. So that concludes the flyers of the week. Now we've got a plethora of submissions from our coveted viewers. Now,
from the Instagram account, as opposed to the live feed.
Exactly, yeah, from the Instagram post that I'd made on Friday. Lash, care to bring some of those up?
So Rob Dog asks, is CEH still viable with Bell in the mix? It's not looking like it, but I don't know. You had CEH, so you probably have more insight, but I'm still on board with the whole they throw the ball way too much. And they throw it downfield, like 50 yards every time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if CEH has much of a role, but he's worth keeping on your roster, definitely. He's like a flex to maybe RB2 play, depending on the matchups.
Yeah, and that's where I've been caught with it because his carries over the last 3 weeks combined have been less than 20.
Right.
But he's still gotten a touchdown in 2 of those games, and then I think in all 3 of those games he got a touchdown. So he's still putting up points, and in a standard league, that's all and for a team that was at 1.1-6 or whatever I was, wasn't good. Touchdowns were like the difference for a lot of reasons. I don't know where I was going with that, but if you can get touchdowns, that's obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm with you in the sense that they like to pass the ball over the last 3 weeks. Like against the Jets, that was really concerning. The fact that they didn't really have him run the ball a lot. That kind of got kind of rung some bells for me to maybe get rid of them.
Even at the end of the game, they were up a ton, and they decided to just launch another TD rather than just like running the clock out kind of thing. So.
Exactly. So even though he's getting me touchdowns each week, it's just kind of like 8 points. So he's getting 20 yards and a touchdown. It's not like a guy that you can rely on being the workhorse. And for me, I would have kept him if I didn't have the opportunity to get a Keenan Allen, because I know that if I can keep a guy on a high scoring offense, odds are is that he might have touchdown opportunities. Yeah. So if you got him, Robert, and you don't have a trade partner to or somebody that you're eyeing up in a trade that you can package Clyde Edwards-Helaire for, then I would be totally comfortable keeping him. And even if you have him as a flex or a running back too, like Lash said, he's totally viable in that sense. He hasn't shown otherwise. It's not like he's putting up 0.6 points or something like that. Yeah. He's getting fewer and fewer carries, but he's also being included more in the pass game, and he's still getting touchdowns. So that's a long-winded way of saying he can be trusted, but if you can move off of him, that would be my conclusion, is try to package him for somebody else if you have a need anywhere else.
He's not at all what you drafted him to be, so you just need to like heavily temper your expectations and view him for what he is, rather than the probably top 2, maybe 3rd round selection that you ended up getting him in the draft.
Yeah, that was the worst. I got him with the first pick in the 2nd round. You hate to see it. Actually, the multiple for my first pick was Nick Chubb, and then my second was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and neither are on my team. Yeah, and I'm 3-6, so maybe that's why. What's the next submission, Lash? I need to.
From Heidinger, we got Goff or Breeze. I think we've beat this one to death throughout the episode. It's Goff, like 100%.
Pounding the drum for Goff.
The Rams are just gonna smash. So.
Oh, that's interesting.
2 QB league. I have Carr, Burrow, and Cam. Do you guys have any recommendations of QBs I should go after?
Look forward to Chubb this week. Tomac's still with us. Gosh darn it, Tomac. Give me back Chubb and I'll give you JT. Straight across.
I'm not super like in the know of 2 QB leagues. I don't really know the whole value and like how people would trade them or anything, so I don't know if I have much input. I think you definitely want to look to upgrade at QB though. Try to find a guy who's like top 10, and then have one of those other 3 that you have be your QB2. Because they're all. Carr's a good quarterback this year. He's just not good for fantasy purposes, not consistent enough. Burrow, I mean, he should be better, but they just don't score touchdowns a lot for some reason. And then Cam is just, I don't know, I'm not high on Cam anymore. Yeah. Going into the season, it was looking good, but even when he has a good game, it's like, did he really have a good game?
Yeah, it's like 20 points.
Can you trust it?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The state of the Patriots doesn't bode well for his fantasy output either.
Doesn't bode well for the fans either. If you could, one guy that I'm kind of eyeing up just because of matchups, if you can somehow go after Drew Brees, he's kind of like, it's not like elite tier, but he's got an elite tier of matchups coming up here. He's got the Falcons twice and somebody else who gives up a lot of points.
Got San Fran this week, which historically shouldn't be great, but they have like so many injuries that it might be good.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty juicy over the next few weeks anyways. He's QB 13, so Lash was saying go after a top 10 guy. I think by the end of this stretch, Brees will be a top 10 guy, so that's kind of what you want, kind of buy low as you can on Drew Brees.
And with Michael Thomas back, that should climb his ranking as well.
Exactly, yeah. So really try to package that if you can, Owen, but otherwise I don't think there'd be much talent on the waivers. So yeah, it sounds like you got to make a trade for a guy like that. Maybe if Cam has a big week this week because of it's going to be a rainy game and maybe he runs a lot and maybe scores a bunch of points, maybe you can package him. He's got a little bit of name value and possibly coming off 2 decent games of him scoring touchdowns, that would be on the ground. That would be really good to go after a guy like Drew Brees.
It's a nice buy low target too. You don't have to give up the farm probably for Drew Brees.
Exactly, yeah. He's been underwhelming this year for fantasy, I'd say.
Yeah. McKinnon or Dobbins, we answered that earlier. Okay, I've got a couple of questions that come from my league mates. Teague T. Nanners is asking, would you trade Hollywood Brown for DJ Chark? Ozzy and I have talked about this because I am the Hollywood Brown owner and Teague is the DJ Chark owner. I don't know. It's hard because I'm on the other end of the question. What do you think, Ozzy?
I forget what I told you, but just thinking about it, I like the potential of Hollywood Brown, but not in that offense. The fact that he was disgruntled, I thought that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that he ends up, Josiah's in here.
Josiah,
we'll get to his questions right away. Hollywood Brown's got that boom or bust potential, but it's a little too much for my liking.
Right.
The Jags, meanwhile, are tanking for a quarterback, and you guys being in a dynasty league, if they get a Trevor Lawrence or a Justin Fields, probably Justin Fields, that's still going to be really good for DJ Chark's his outlook.
Right.
So I really like that side of it, and for that reason I would err on the side of DJ Chark.
Okay, so you told me the opposite.
I did
because
I mentioned that it was because of the trade, I think, right? The possibility of him being shipped out.
Right.
With Lamar Jackson at the helm, I just think that it's going to be too focused on the run, and he's still going to be a too boom or bust.
Yeah.
If you wanted to hold on to him with the hopes that in the offseason he gets traded, he's only in his second year right now, entering his third year. I don't think that that's realistic.
Right.
In the short term, so I would err on the side of the DJ Chark.
Right. I would do the trade.
Oh, Justin Fields greater than Trevor Lawrence. Ooh. I mean, probably doesn't. His stats this year probably say that is the case. I think he's got more touchdowns than he has incompletions, and that's impressive.
In terms of Hollywood, I think Lamar still has room to grow as a passer, so he's on my roster literally as the boom or bust player. I have competent receivers to fill my WR1 in 2 slots. So if I'm ever facing a week where it's like, shit, I need to really go off kind of thing, I'll plug in Hollywood. But he was really highly regarded coming out of college, so I think he has a lot more potential than he's been showing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
well, last year he was really good when they were throwing the ball to him. So yeah.
So Teague, I would do the trade from both of our perspectives. It just kind of depends. I am ridiculously attached to players that I draft and stuff. For some reason, I just have a fear of letting go and them blowing up on me. But yeah, it would be a good trade either way.
That's him accepting the deal.
That's not me accepting the deal, but if you want, we can still think about it.
We can still think about it.
I've also got LaVisca though, so I think he's gonna maybe cut into DJ Chark's work. I'm hoping he is. That's my pre-draft guy who is the only guy who I ever actually scouted in any form. So don't shit on it. Don't shit on it.
No,
moving on.
No, not to give any spoilers, but LaVisca might not be on your team much longer.
On my team?
Yeah.
Is someone trying to trade for LaVisca?
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about it off the air. Oh. All right. There was a pretty high profile trade last week that was mentioned.
Oh.
That included LaVisca. Anyways, okay, so we're moving on.
New.
Josiah, you're still here, hopefully.
Yeah. The last question is from Josiah. Is Derrick Henry worth Jonathan Taylor and a first in Dynasty? So this has been a pretty heated discussion amongst us. It's hard because it's Dynasty. You're looking at the whole long-term career outlook. Right now, Austin can tell you, Jonathan Taylor, not impressing in fantasy, not impressing on the football field. He looks like absolute shit, to be honest. Not at all what you expected coming out of college. In a dynasty draft, like trade calculator, it's pretty much a completely even deal. So I'm kind of just trusting the stat nerds to carry me on this argument. But I do agree that King Henry is he sucks. Yeah. King Henry is a big haul, and I'm not happy that our second place league mate got him to take a run at me, especially given his playoff schedule. Jacksonville, Detroit, and Green Bay, just fucking like bottom 5 teams. Yeah. So just when King Henry likes to get it going in the winter, in the cold, gonna feed him the ball against the worst of the worst against the run defenses. But in Dynasty, it's tough. You gotta like give it a while. I've heard people like trade Aaron Jones for a first after his first big game, and the person who gave up the first thought he absolutely smashed that trade or got the first. I don't know if that's what I said, but look at Aaron Jones now. So it's definitely gonna take a few years. They want Jonathan Taylor to be the guy. He was never supposed to be the guy this year, though, given Marlon Mack, and just like the other two who are still succeeding right now. So, at face value, I do agree. It's not great, given their production currently, but I think we're going to have to wait to see maybe what that first turns into, as well as Jonathan Taylor's long-term outlook.
Yeah, I think long-term, you're kind of weighing the longevity of a guy like King Henry, who, for running backs, after they run out their rookie deal, they generally fall off a cliff. And Derrick Henry kind of, I wouldn't say he's fallen off a cliff, but he hasn't been what he was last year, I don't think.
Well,
he's been a lot more
was, like,
inconsistent.
Exceptional last year.
Yeah, that's true too. So I think that if you're looking at it just for the rest of this year, you would want to hold on to Derrick Henry. I'm not sure who has Derrick Henry in here and who has Jonathan Taylor.
So one of the bottom teams traded Derrick Henry to Tristan, who's currently second.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay, and so they got
like
Jonathan Taylor. So that's good for the team rebuilding.
Yeah,
then
exactly. He has a bunch of young guys already, too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good deal then for both sides, because Derrick Henry will help the person win now, and for the person blowing it up, Jonathan Taylor's his long-term outlook is going to be much better than Derrick Henry's.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
As long as he's not Rashard Penny 2.0.
Exactly. And you still got the first to kind of cover your ass in that sense too. So that helps a lot. So what else?
That's it.
That's it?
That's the last of them.
Well, that's it. Thank you everybody for your submissions. We're coming on an hour here anyways, so that's about good. Hopefully you got all your fantasy advice in, and for those who are just about to well, I guess you wouldn't be seeing this, but if anybody's just tuning in at the beginning of this when we post it, well, you got a half hour to skim through an hour's worth of content. So
luckily all the games start at 2. Most of the games start at 2
exactly.
this week, so
yeah, there's
get it in.
Exactly. Get it in. And in more ways than one. And we will see you next week. Hopefully not Sunday, but we'll see you next week. Maybe earlier on in the week. Lash and I will work on that. Until next time, I'm Austin Delalonga. This is Brandon LaChapelle, and we are, this is Fantasy Football for Dummies by Dummies. Take care.